Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer. I am back with a monologue because there is a lot of stuff that got mentioned in the last 24 hours, and I wanted to just summarize it for you folks. A small request to all of you to like this video. We have a slide deck that we are going to go one by one, the 10-point agenda that Trump has declared, and I'll give a little bit of my own insights on what is going to happen on these 10 points. So let's start with our slide deck. But before that, please like this video. And finally, I'm happy to see a president who can put together sentences that make sense, that also are coherent, and that are cogent. I may not agree with what Trump says every time. I may not disagree with him. But the point is, finally, it feels like America has somebody who's got his thinking cap on. That's just my personal opinion. So now let's go to the slide deck, please. Trump's war on the deep state. Here is a master plan. So some of you have already expressed your concerns that the big decisions, he should keep it to himself. This is not as easy to do in the United States as it is in India. I think sometimes it does help to telegraph your views and let things go where they are, because the amount of distortion that has taken place in the fabric of the American governance system, it's going to take some time to go. At the same time, some people have to be telegraphed that, look, if you didn't do anything wrong, you are okay. And also, if you did do something wrong, well, we are coming for you. I think this is my personal opinion. That could be one reason why Trump has come out with this. 3 or 4 statements that have come, every one of them full of import. In fact, in the morning of India, I had put out a small 5-minute monologue on what he did to New York. Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, called him to congratulate him, and Trump must have said something, because immediately all the illegals, the food stamps that were going to them, has been stopped. Yes, you can say, how are we going to poor children that need to eat? Yes, all that stuff is there. But first, you need to make a statement to the people who are trying to get into United States. Understand this. Those people need to be sent a message. America is closed at this point of time. There will be some orderly way to come in, but right now it's closed. So that is the message I think he was sending. So do watch that video so you understand where he is coming from. And this is going to continue on other states, because sanctuary cities such as Chicago or San Francisco or Seattle or Portland, they are way over borrowed. They don't have the tax base to make up the shortfall of feeding all these people, and also being able to take care of all the basic necessities of the people that live in these cities. San Francisco is experiencing a huge loss in real estate value just because of some bad decisions. So this is the ultimate thing. In a capitalistic society, people who didn't say anything, did not protest, did not come out on the streets to protest this illegal entry, where, see, according to Trump, it is 21 million. 21 million people have come in. He must have got the numbers from the CBP. I don't know where exactly he got his numbers. That is even beyond what I was thinking were coming in. Our numbers were between 8 to 15 million. So this becomes, becoming a big number now. At 21 million and a population of 340 million, you're talking close to 5%. 5% of people have, US has increased its population by 5%. All of them are illegal. Some of them could be terrorists. Some of them could be thieves, murderers, what have you. A lot of what I would call as riffraff from the world has crept in, as you are seeing with the Venezuelan criminal gangs taking over apartment complexes. So things are really unraveling, and those things need to be put back and start the repair process. So it is not at all surprising that he has done that. By the way, I don't know how many of you know this, he did 900 rallies. 900. Even if you assume that many of them happened in the last 300 odd days, that's 3 rallies to a day, not necessarily in the same city. And he is 78 years old. Just let that thought sink in, guys, how much he has put in it and how much he believed that he needed to do this thing. In fact, in one of his speeches, he was full of praise for Elon Musk about how he responded to call by some people stranded in North Carolina following a very bad typhoon that hit them and a hurricane that they hit them, and how Starlink came to their rescue. We have a slightly more nuanced look at Starlink and its impact on the world. We'll do that thing as an article in pgurus.com shortly. Stay tuned on that one also. Now, let's go to the next thing. So, Donald Trump said 2 or 3 times already now, promises made, promises kept. What he's trying to say is, whatever promises he has made in his campaign, he is going to keep them. And in accordance to that, the first thing he said is that he is going to dismantle deep state, which he said some describes as a network of bureaucrats in agencies like the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Central Intelligence Agency, believed to hold influence beyond elected government. By the way, this is not new, viewers. Don't think that this is new. Edgar Hoover, who was the first director of FBI, if I remember correctly, hung on for 25-30 years. It is believed that he had the dope on every president that occupied the chair in White House, and that basically they were all afraid of him as to what he would leak. So once he died, actually he died in office if I remember correctly, things started changing, and the governments decided to clip the wings of the incoming FBI directors. Now it's gone the other way around. Many directors are being looked at with suspicion. So a lot of things, a lot of cleaning needs to happen there. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. So what has happened is, I believe that there was an order that he had about to issue or something like that, and that got stopped at the very end during his previous term. I'll talk on that also in just a minute. So now let us take a look at how many places he has mentioned the word deep state. Now, I don't know how many of you are on the new platform called Truth Social. Truth Social is Trump's own Twitter-like platform where he, puts out a lot of his thoughts. And if you have not already joined that, I would encourage all of you to join, because that's where I think the first thoughts originate, and then I think they take shape, and then you might see it on other platforms such as X and Facebook. He's not still very active on X. He's quite active on Truth Social. So if you want to know what he's thinking, perhaps it's good for you to log on to Truth Social, and you get an idea of where he is thinking. And he's not afraid to tell his thoughts. And this is something that many people say, that as a politician you should not reveal everything, tell all. Well, each one has his own way of working. We'll have to wait and see how Trump is going to succeed in his method. So he has mentioned in Truth Social the word deep state 56 times, and how he plans to dismantle it. In fact, Vivek Ramaswamy also had said that the FBI itself can be dismantled. It's way too many people chasing too little. All these are personal impressions of a particular organization. They need to go in and look at the thing. It could be doing more things that might not be seeing the light of the day. If the FBI is going after bad guys, they're not going to telegraph their intent as to X bad guy and Y bad guy is whom we are going after. So a lot of that stuff will now surface now that they are in power. So that somewhere there is going to be a balance achieved, especially for the investigative agencies. Now, I'm also hearing that the director of national intelligence during Trump's time, Grinnell, is in line to become the director of CIA, among other names. One Indian origin name, Kash Patel, also is doing the round. There are many people, but if Grinnell comes to CIA, that would be a very interesting development, because Trump always said that CIA and FBI are not listening to him when he was the president the last time around. So a lot of finesse that needs to take place, a lot of things that has to be done right. I think he is a little bit more matured now as a politician. It's not that he was not matured. As a politician, he's a little bit more matured, more nuanced. I think he has found the habit or the knack of taking people along with him. And I'm going to give you a couple of stories which will kind of get your blood boiling, especially those of you who are committed Democrats. Nothing wrong in that. I'm an independent. I used to be a Democrat once. But see, when I stopped being a Democrat, I didn't go immediately and join the Republican Party either. I would rather vote on issues. and on personalities and how I perceive them to be beneficial, and that's a good place to be in. The breed of independent voters is the fastest growing demographic in the United States today. Anybody who's capable of some thought is thinking carefully, what does this particular person's candidacy entail for the world, for the people, for me, everything. All those things come into play. Now, one of the first victims will be the federal workers who have basically taken on this thing feeling that they are invincible because they work for the government. They think they cannot be fired. This was one big hot topic that was debated when just give me 1 second, let me line this thing up right. When Vivek Ramaswamy was running for president, people asked him, how are you going to dismantle Federal Bureau of Investigation? You cannot fire a government worker. Then he pulled up a statute and said that under this rule, I may not be able to fire one person, but I can fire the whole department. So there is interesting possibilities. So will the whole department be corrupt? Will the whole department be so ideologically bent that they feel that this is the right way to do things, and that happens to be coincidentally the democratic way of life? All these things are going to be asked, but certainly the first 90 days are going to be tumultuous. So you know why? Because on 6th, the results kind of stabilized. We had riots. We had processions going in Chicago, in NYU campus in New York. This is just the two that come to my mind. There may be others also. And they have been brought under control. And that tells you that the country is deeply divided. So first you have to also unite the country and see what are all the big things that will actually further divide the country. Those things have to be addressed first. For example, illegal immigration. That's what I said, that Eric Adams has ordered that food stamps will be stopped forthwith. As to what will happen to the illegals, by the way, just in the city of New York, it is believed that there are 200,000 illegals. I'm watching some videos of people who just went to New York. There are some neighborhoods, the stink of people defecating in open drains is so much that it is even hard to move around. And I'm told that New York is better than Los Angeles and San Francisco. So I shudder when so many people have been brought in without a thought on how the country is going to assimilate them into the society. So what was Biden thinking? Okay, so Biden was a vegetable. What was Kamala Harris thinking? So you're seeing the effect of all these questions, uncomfortable questions being asked. Now, next one, please. 𝗠ci Gabbard calls VP Kamala Harris the new figurehead for the deep state. And there is a lot of evidence that points to that. I'm going to try and give you one link, 1 minute shorts by Megyn Kelly on Kamala Harris and her rise, how she got into this Harvard University, how she became the Attorney General in California, all the different things. And basically her conclusion is that Kamala Harris is the epitome of the DEI candidate. You can watch it or not. I'll give you the link in the description section and references. You are welcome to watch it to get an idea why people are saying that Kamala Harris is herself a shadow network plant and a deep state person. Deep state is believed to hold the real power over a country as governments come and go as often, and sometimes they even override the government's agenda. For example, I'll tell you, Trump tried to get a lot of things done through the intelligence agencies, and they were not cooperating in his opinion. So he started relying more and more on DNI. And the DNI director, Grinnell, was one of the few who said that the 2020 elections were rigged. Now people are willing to accept it. Then people are saying, oh no, oh my God, what are you saying? Nothing was rigged. Now we are looking at the data also. There is one graphic I would like Sachin to pull it up if possible, that tells you the number of voters America has had over the past 6 or 7 presidential elections, in a total number of voters. And you will see a huge jump in 2020, and then it's come down again. What you would expect as population goes up in United States, that the number would continue to grow higher, right? So there are some discrepancies, and these are all pointing to something beyond what took place. Anyway, so let's go on to the next one. So how does Trump plan to drain the swamp? He wants to remove underperforming federal workers, reshaping the federal bureaucracy, including eliminating the Department of Education. This is where that critical race theory, CRT, that's bye-bye. And also this gender change operation, sex operations, all these things were in different. So the curriculums have to change from primary school. The children have to be taught what is right, not all these deviant ways of doing things. Here we go. Here is the numbers. I'm going to step closer to so that I can see it properly. You can see here how the there you go. This tells you the number of people who have come in illegally into this country, and under George Bush the total was 9.8 million over 8 years, Obama 7.9 million over 8 years, Trump 3 million under 4 years, and Biden 10.4 million under just 1 year. I mean, sorry, one term of 4 years. So you can see that 3.25 million have come in. These are not the official estimate. People are saying that these are just CBO, customs. CBO is budget office, congressional budget office, budget office. But customs says a different story. Okay, so can we have the actual electorate numbers? Did you get that one also, Sachin? There's one more where the number of percentage of voters that voted. This is the total percentage, and you will see a big spike in 2020, and then again it has settled down back to the numbers like what they used to be in 2016. That's an interesting graphic in itself. So I'm going to continue on with this slide deck. And there is going to be some changes to the Justice Department operations also, because the Democrats weaponized the Department of Justice. No doubt about it, because you saw that the day after elections happened, the DOJ withdrew all their federal cases against Donald Trump. You know, if somebody committed a crime, why do you want to withdraw it? They said the protocol is that presidents are not prosecuted, but so what? So you can see here, this is the number of people who voted in millions. It's a little light, so I'm going to come close to tell you. But look at the number of people that voted. In 2012, there were close to 66 million votes for the Democrats, around 60 million votes for the Republicans. Same way in 2016, again 65 million for the Democrats and 62 million for Trump. So Hillary Clinton actually polled more votes than Trump. How can you explain this? It's because of the electoral college system. Hillary polled a lot more votes in California, but the electoral college doesn't change just because you got more votes. You get the maximum from that. That's how that happened. And then look at 2020. 74 million for Trump and close to 82 million for Biden. And now we are back again at the old levels. Only thing is, Trump has more or less stayed similar, 72 million for him, and 65, 66 million is where Democrats are. So you can see that something happened in the 2020 elections. Now you can turn around and say, how come even Trump got more votes? Yeah, something needs to be investigated. Maybe the Republican vote base grew. I don't know. But I just feel that something happened there. And those of us who are skeptical about the process of 2020 presidential elections got really hammered. Hammered is the only word I can put for it. Many of the DGI episodes where we questioned some of these numbers, those got deleted abruptly without a notification. So, you know, as far as freedom of speech goes, you can say whatever you want. Why just completely shut it down? In fact, we had the numbers to back these things up. That's why I know you're going to say, oh, here he goes trying to sell the book again. I have to give you an explanation. I did the work, guys. I did the work. When I wrote this book, I checked at all the different discrepancies that I saw. And those are all weaved in a fictional way in that book. Next one, please. Trump intends to reinstate Schedule F a policy that would allow easier termination of federal employees by reclassifying tens of thousands as at-will workers. By the way, in private sector, we are all at-will workers, which means either one can terminate the job at will. If your employer thinks that you are not doing a good job, he can terminate you. And if you feel that you are better appreciated elsewhere, you can tell them, okay, I'm giving my regular notice, and then move on. Typically, it is like 2-week notice. Sometimes it's even shorter than that. Okay, potentially impacting civil service stability. Well, this is always the question that will say, oh, well, this is the steel frame of the United States. Is it civil services? You are disturbing it. You are taking a hammer to it. It's going to become broken. People will start getting afraid. They will not implement anything. All those things, those fear mongerings will happen. We have to wait and see how this thing gets smoothed out. Trump proposes an efficiency commission headed by Elon Musk to cut government inefficiencies and streamline operations. Very interesting concept. Clearly, Elon Musk is somebody who has proven that he can run 4 very high-tech companies simultaneously and successfully. It takes some extraordinary effort and ability to think clearly through all the pressures of the day in and day out that a CEO faces. And that's amazing. So if Elon Musk can spare some time to do this thing, that will be amazing too. We'll wait and see what happens. Now, there is an Agenda 47, a set of proposals introduced by Trump's campaign during the primary election, focusing on reducing deep state influence. Agenda 47 outlines a 10-point plan aimed at dismantling the deep state and restoring power to the American people, reclaiming democracy from Washington corruption. This is also called as swamp. Washington is also called as the swamp, which is why in 2016, as well as in this election, he said that I'm going to drain the swamp. On day one, Trump plans to reissue 2020 executive order to restore the president's authority to fire rogue bureaucrats. Trump plans to overhaul federal departments and agencies by firing all corrupt actors within the national security and intelligence apparatus. Next one, please. Fundamentally reform the FISA, that is the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. That's essentially what it is that the government has some special powers to put foreign interference people under surveillance, and this is supposed to apply outside of America, my understanding. And evidently, it is alleged that it was also being applied to inside America. So, next, establish a Truth and Reconciliation. No, I didn't go. Last one. Yeah, thank you. Establish a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to declassify and publish all documents on deep state spying, censorship, and abuses of power. I've been telling you guys that not only in Facebook that I was shadow banned, I was also shadow banned in Twitter. Unfortunately for me, my case, Elon Musk's entry hasn't changed a bit. I still am shadow banned on Twitter, and he has still not provided that one online tool that people like me could use to find out what it is that they find offensive about my tweet. Because mine are some of the most bland tweets. It will be like, watch my video, read this post. It's not opinionated. I'm not calling somebody something. Go figure. So next, Trump plans to launch a major crackdown on government leakers who collude with the media to create false narratives, pursuing criminal charges when appropriate. I love to see how this dovetails with the freedom of speech provision that Americans enjoy under their constitution. So we have to wait and see. I'd like to wait and see before I comment on that. Make every Inspector General's office independent from the department they oversee, so they do not become protectors of the deep state. So these are all, fault lines that have been identified as to what happens when a certain decision happens, what is the flow of the information up and down. So these are all interesting but minute changes in the way these things operate. So we'll have to again wait and see how this plays out. Next one, please. Establish an independent auditing system to continually monitor intelligence agencies to ensure that they are not spying on citizens or running disinformation campaigns against the American people. One of the things that has been observed is Chinese influence. I'm going to be direct. I'm not going to hold any punches here. Chinese exert an inordinate amount of influence in our day-to-day lives in the United States. For example, they say, I mean, it has been the Federal Communications Commission chairman had written to Google and Apple that they should not allow TikTok app to be downloaded and installed from their platform, the Android platform and the iPhone platform. And they didn't do it. They wouldn't listen to him. And Biden threatened that he's going to take TikTok off, but he could never ban it. Now they are going to say that by the end of next year it might be banned. I don't know. I think it should be banned right away, because TikTok has been proven to take all the information about you, your interests, your hobbies, your peccadillos, your this, your that, and this could be used against you, because China is believed to have its own police stations across the world, where they now target people of Chinese origin who have come up and taken residence in other countries. What is to stop them from doing that to non-Chinese citizens also? Nothing. Once they know your weak point, they are going to exploit you. They are going to blackmail you. Honey trapping is the perfected crime of China. Anyway, so that's something that again is important. And Trump plans to continue its efforts to decentralize the federal bureaucracy by moving parts of it outside of Washington, similar to President Trump's relocation of the Bureau of Land Management to Colorado. Up to 100,000 government positions could potentially be moved out of Washington. Again, this requires some research. Somebody may have done a paper on what are all the things that are fit to be moved out of Washington, D.C. Basically, it is to decongest DC and also weaken this, this network that gets formed. Many of the senators and congressmen who lost these elections, what do you think they're going to do? They'll go and join a lobbying firm in K Street, and they'll be again going back and calling up their old contact and saying, buddy, I want this thing done, I want this thing done. It is business as usual. You might not be sitting in Congress and voting, you might not be sitting in Senate and voting, but beyond that, same restaurants, same handshakes, same agenda, same lining of pockets. So this needs to be broken. We'll see. Again, next one is ban federal bureaucrats from taking jobs at the companies they deal with and regulate, such as Big Pharma. By the way, it's not just Big Pharma. You will see that when major companies are audited by the Securities Exchange Commission, SEC, the SEC regulator will be very strict with the company. They'll levy heavy fines. The company, of course, is not going to pay that. They'll go and fight it in the court. But along the way, the company recognizes that this particular SEC employee could be an asset to them should that person choose to join their company. And it has happened a lot. The SEC has got one of the highest, turnover ratios. This thing needs to stop. That's what he's saying here. Federal bureaucrats from taking jobs at the companies. Same thing, ditto in FDA, Food and Drugs Administration. If the FDA doesn't approve a particular drug, that drug has no future. Many countries look to the United States because they don't have the wherewithal to test every new drug that gets to be put up by the pharma companies. So they rely on FDA to give accurate information so that they can allow selling of these drugs. So FDA, you have the same problem. Somebody finds a fault with your drug, you go and you fix it, you get it passed, and then quietly that person is now working with you in your company, and then that person starts lobbying the FDA for some other favors. This has been happening again and again. This is what he wants to break, and that's a very important point, and I completely support that. Push for a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on members of Congress. Yes, bring it on. Did you know that everybody that forms squad has got re-elected? Why? They found their own safe constituencies. Ilhan Omar, much to my disappointment, managed to squeak through. This time they did find a very tough candidate, but still he wasn't strong enough to push her out. She's back in there. Pramila Jayapal, I'm told, has won. Rashida Tlaib has won. I'm told AOC has won. So the squad is back in toto. Bernie Sanders has won. He's the guru of, he's the Agastya of all these chelas. and he's an independent. Look at this. Look at this, discrepancy here. Bernie Sanders is the ultimate progressive, but he's not a member of the Democratic Party. He's an independent, but he votes with the Democrats. I mean, I want to have the cake and I want to have it too. That is Bernie Sanders for you. But all these are his chelas and chelis. Go figure. So, and some of the other Indian congressmen also, I think they've got re-elected, such as Raja Krishnamurthy, Ro Khanna, and Sree Thanidar. I know those three have won. I'm not 100% sure about others, but in the course of days, you will know all the results. But one silver lining, California vote. California used to vote 70% Democrat and 30% Republican. In 2024, it is 56 to 41. The needle has started moving. By the way, you can ask me this question. How come California, which sent Richard Nixon to the presidency, Ronald Reagan to the presidency, became so horribly Democratic? Not horribly, but became so deep blue. It's called deep blue because it's 70% Democrat. Why? The story is very interesting. In the 86 or 87, Ronald Reagan, after becoming president, passed a law, and that law recognized anyone working illegally in an agricultural farm for 90 days. If you worked illegally in an agricultural farm for 90 days, and if the farm owner gave you a letter, you got a green card, permanent residency. 87. Okay, after 5 years, you become citizen. So what happened is all those people who got their green cards, because California had the maximum number of undocumented people who were working the farm fields. You had to harvest vegetables, fruits, everything, right? They all became permanent residents. Unfortunately for the Republicans, they all vote Democrat. But there is a rethink going on that that could very well lead to California again becoming one of the decision-making states where it's 50-50. That's where I would like to see it. I don't want any one party to run away with the lead. I'd like to see a split balance in the middle so that California gets to understand its importance in the entire structure. It's the biggest state in terms of population. It sends the maximum number of delegates to Congress, a number of representatives to Congress. So it needs to have a say in what happens. So we'll wait and see how that goes. Next. He also took pot shots at some specific CNN commentators. If there is time, I'll talk about that because there are still a lot of things to do. Maybe there are some questions. I'll take that, and if you have time, I'll do that. Let's finish the slide deck, please. There are a couple more slides left. So we looked at this one. Next one, please. Let me check. Okay, this is all. This is all the slides, so we don't need to. So I'm done now. So I'm done with the slide deck. Let's take a few questions now. 54 college votes. I think you are right, Balaji. I think it is 54. So there has to be a reason for California to be able to weigh in. This is one of the biggest states. So population-wise, G is the biggest. Size-wise, also it's quite big. Magnet Ranga wants to know. By the way, size-wise, it daunts you when I am supposed to be part of Northern California, and from here, if I want to reach the border of California, I have to drive like 20 hours or 22 hours, 60 miles an hour, 1,200 miles. It goes on and on and on and on and on and on. It's a big state. Magnet Ranga wants to know, Namaskar, Trump has talked about purging internal infiltrators. How easy would that be? What time frame he has to do it? Sooner, less they regroup. There are provisions available. We talked about it. I can't tell you the exact plan, Magnet Rangaji, but it is possible to catch maybe 80%. Because many people do have paperwork. If you don't have paperwork, you will not get food stamps. See, so in order to get food stamps, you have to register yourself, which means your address is known. What is required is political will, and it is believed that the expense incurred is not going to be that significant if it is done in a certain way. I'm not going to tell you what the certain way is, because that would basically help them to kind of blend in and disappear. And US is a vast country, vast country. I mean, I have gone through states like Wyoming, huge state. And an interesting thing about Wyoming is, see, in the 20 years ago, there used to be petrol stations with self-service and full service. What full service was somebody actually came and operated the pump for you. They would clean your windshield, they would check your fluids, and they would top them off if you need to. All these things used to happen, and for that you paid a little bit higher price per gallon, called full service. Now, I was driving through Wyoming, and this is in the middle of nowhere. In fact, it is so middle of nowhere that it was electrically solar powered. In the 90s, there was not that much solar energy push, but this particular gas station was solar powered, and there were only like 3 houses in the middle of a vast expanse of nowhere. And when we pulled up, I was looking for the self service, and the attendant comes out and says, "Oh, no, we are not going to charge you for our time. We just like to meet people." You see, because they hardly get to see anybody. So what I'm trying to say is that this is a vast country. It's very easy to get lost in the crowds. I mean, in the forests and deserts and what have you. So something has to be done in a coordinated way. However, US has the wherewithal to take care of managing the illegal immigrants and then sending them back. They may be probably put up in Mexico, and US may have to pay for some of the expenses to let them go back to their native country. I don't know all the details, but it is possible to track them and catch them and take them out of US if there is will. Next one, please. Ranjot Singh wants to know, sir, please let us know your view on de-dollarization. Well, my friend, it's going to take a bit of a backseat now. If you notice, the dollar has strengthened in the last 3-4 days. Gold has actually fallen. The dollar has strengthened because people know that Trump means business, and he is going to do everything in his power to try and balance out or restore the position of dollar. I'll tell you one thing that is already well on the way. All shell companies, not shell, all shale companies are going to be renewed with their licenses so they can start extraction. In about 3 months' time, you'll start seeing US again starting to export large quantities of crude, and with that would come control over the price of crude in the market, in the international market. I expect crude to fall further. Maybe they'll bring it down to 60, because for shale extraction to be profitable, the price per barrel of crude should be around 30 to 35. Although every year the efficiencies of shale extraction improve, and it's possible that they could be better now than they were, say, 1, 2, 3, 4 years ago. Yeah, Biden completely shut it down. So now you may ask me, why did Biden shut it down? That this could be a huge risk for the climate, because shale extraction is where you are pulling out, like it's a wet kind of coal, black color coal, and then you need to process it. For that you need a lot of water. You would be wasting a lot of fresh water to get this thing done. I agree with all that stuff. However, there are other places also that the United States can drill. Offshore drilling, United States took a conscious decision not to touch its own oil deposits until the world's deposits deplete. This is a 100-year policy of United States. They want to wait till the world runs out of petrol, and then they want to start using their own offshore drilling rigs. Some of that is being done in Mexico, in the Gulf of Mexico, which is like Louisiana. You see a lot of that stuff. But there is a lot more that is available. So we don't know which kind of a balance that is going to be, but certainly I expect United States to be a huge player in the crude market. With that, what will happen is, once the price of gasoline at the pump goes down, price of diesel goes down, indirect costs of that to your commodities, rice, groceries, other things, everything has to be transported, right? All those things will go down. Inflation will come down. Inflation needs to come down. So in one fell swoop, inflation will be controlled, and United States will start making more money because it will be a producer of crude. So this is what he is aiming for, and that would give some amount of respite. However, the climate impact has to be examined, and you have to do it in a way that is kinder and gentler. I'll leave it. There is some reservations on that. I completely agree with that. Now, 𝗤𝗍𝘍, Miss 𝗤𝗍𝘍, what is the position of Republic winning for House? They are still ahead. 218, I think, is the number, magic number. They're still ahead. I don't have the exact number now. Let me see if I can pull it up. I had it as a tab. Yeah, here. I had it as a tab. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so the latest number, I'm just refreshing my screen. Just give me 1 second. I'll tell you the number. Okay, the latest is that the Republicans are 199 and the Democrats are 199 and the Republicans are 211. So there is a gap of 12, and there are still some more seats that are not determined. I think there are about 12 seats or so. So we have to wait and see. It might be a very, very minor, but it will still be a decisive majority for Republican. The more important thing is Trump had to assert himself in his own party. You have people like Liz Cheney who didn't want to listen to him, and then you had this other guy who ran for president against Obama in 2012. He also conducted the Olympics in Salt Lake City, Utah. Not remembering his name. That guy, he's another person. There are many people like that who don't like Mitch McConnell, for example, senator. He was the Senate leader. He doesn't like Trump, and a lot of things like that. And if they need to all now accept that Republican Party is now Trump's party. Lara Trump is Trump's daughter-in-law, and she is the head of RNC, Republican National Convention, which is sort of like your parliamentary board party in India, if you think. I mean, this is the most important position in a party. Next question from SS. Will deep state again try to destabilize Trump by doing similar actions happened with John F. Kennedy? Well, you can never rule out deep state, but at the same time, I think Trump is also a little bit wiser. There is a way you can move all these pieces around that kind of breaks down the grid of information flow and decision making that the deep state has created. That's why I had said in the morning for you and evening for us last night, the 3 things that Trump must do: go after George Soros, go after Ilhan Omar, and go after Hunter Biden. Now, Janamajan wants to know, how will Trump deport 20 million plus illegals? Easier said than done, I agree. But there is, I think, more than half of that is low-hanging fruit. In other words, they are all in the border states, and those will be the first ones to go. And first thing is, you need to stop people from coming in, which means you have to go back to Panama area where people are still crossing and hoping to come to US. That line has to get reversed there, and along this way, these thousands of kilometers, food and shelter were set up. God knows which NGO was doing it, but you know who could be funding all these things. A lot of things have to be broken up and dismantled. Many of these governments were bribed to look the other way because they say they're not going to stay in your country, they are going to US, right? That kind of stuff has happened. All these things have to be reversed. Certainly, many are shaking in their boots. Betal, thank you so much. Hello, sir. Please tell me, who are the people behind deep state? It could be some former ex-president, like, for example, Barack Obama is told to be one person from the deep state. Biden is deep state. Kamala Harris is deep state. What is deep state? These are like, they have a certain agenda, and if you want their money, they want you to do what they, what they want. So it is money for favors. Next one. Manov-san wants to know, how can Trump avoid tricks and traps from deep state? Will they choose new personnel more wisely this time? Previous time, many were undercutting from within. Have you heard of this Project 2025? Project 2025 is something that some independent group has come up with, and the Democrats tried to pin it on Trump, but people would not buy it. It is not a Trump approved project. I haven't even looked at it. There will always be these outliers. who want to do this. Next. Murali Krishna 𝗣𝗚𝗍𝗆 wants to know, Sirji, Sriji, Trump is talking about automatic citizenship, no, revoking, yeah, automatic by birth to end. Your view, sir? These are many H1B holders of India. Murali Krishna ji, I have to modify what your comment is. The automatic citizenship to end for illegals. Parents, if the parents are illegals, then their children will not be getting automatic citizenship. That's what it means. If somebody has entered the United States legally, this does not affect them. I hope I explained this to you. Next one. Maithili wants to know what will happen to all the investments made in renewable energy. No, that I think will continue, Maithili ji. However, I must caution you that even the best solar energy converter today is only like 15 to 18%. That is 100 watts of sun energy results in only 15 watts of electrical energy. That's not a very ideal state of affairs. So there is going to be some rethink on that also. I don't think anything is going to be stopped. Maybe they'll cut down on some of the subsidies. Next one, please. Thank you, Sanjay, for your super sticker. Naveen wants to know, come on now. You're making me blush. You're so handsome and beautiful with that vibhuti on the forehead and throat, a fresh looking face. How do you maintain that? What are the mantras you recite? Your answers will help others. Naveen ji, I recite the Gayatri mantra whenever I find time. And I find it a very, very powerful mantra. If nothing else, just recite the Gayatri mantra. This is for everybody, anybody and everybody can recite it. Or if you don't have, if you can't remember the whole thing, just say Om Namah Shivaya. That would work. Or Narayana, 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 Narayana. If you are a Vishnu Bhakt, there are lots of ways. Essentially, you have to look at what Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. You are your best friend. You are your worst enemy. You have the power to be the best you can be. All you need to do is discover your inner Hanuman. Once you do that, you will be unstoppable. Next one. Kalyan Raman says, sir, what could be the implications of Trump's actions in Bangladesh in the immediate future? You'll have to wait for some time before this starts flowing. Certainly, I expect all these Jamaat extremists to stop doing what they are doing. The Bangladesh government is in much bigger mess. For example, Adani is going to probably pull the plug literally on supplying electricity for unpaid past bills. They don't have the money. In fact, they are losing their one good industry, which is the garment industry. So I don't know what they were thinking. Now I'm also hearing there's a split between the Yunus group and the students group. I always tell the students, look, you don't have the political maturity to run a country. Josh se kaam nahi banega, hosh se hi kaam banega. Understand this? So we'll see how it goes. Next one. Mangat Rangaji wants to know, many celebrities say that they would leave Bharat should Modi become Prime Minister. One such person is now an ally of BJP. Many celebs in US have said they would leave. Surely they were not leaving, or would they? No, nobody's going to leave. You got to understand that celebrity status, it also spoils a lot of people. Very few do I come across in the celebrity industry who are, leading good lives, moral lives, who are taking care of their family, who are being truthful to their other half. I'm not saying spouses. You could be a girlfriend, boyfriend for 15, 20 years, and you could still be faithful. What I'm trying to say is, nature intended for human beings to be societal. Look at ants, for example. Ants are also societal. And when we try to break that, untold things happen. And in the 70s, they wanted to increase more refrigerators, more television sets. Therefore, what they started pitching was the concept of a nuclear family. The children, once they become a little bit of age, they should go out and start their own households so that they could sell an extra refrigerator, an extra TV. You get the idea, right? Now, things are still the same way. In America, and I'm sure this is caught on in other countries also, once the children turn 18, they want to be out of the clutches of their parents. That's what they think. But they don't understand that a family ecosystem also covers for a lot of things. If you break your leg, there is some family member available for you to take you to the hospital, get all the things. I'm not saying you should break your leg. What I'm trying to say is that the family will swoop in to help you in times of need. Next one, please. I think that's all the questions we have. Thank you once again. This was a very this was put together at very short notice. I have one question that I want to answer. One of the parents has to be a citizen, then child will get citizenship. This is the clarification on that, not letting children want to get US citizenship. One of the parent has to be a citizen, then the child will get citizenship. If no one are members of US and has no green card, then the child wants citizenship of US. I don't understand. I think won't get citizenship of, yeah. So essentially, if one parent is a citizen, then what happens is the other spouse will in time will get green card, and then that person also can become citizen 5 years later. You have to live for 5 years in the United States after you get your green card to be eligible to apply for citizenship. 5 years. So basically what I said is right, in the sense that, except that if one of you is legal, one spouse is legal, then the child does get US citizenship. The citizenship thing is all done in the hospital delivery room. Within 10-15 minutes, the nurse comes and takes down the time of birth, and that certificate is available to you within 24 hours. It's a beautiful system. Beautiful system. Next one. And they ask you for the name. What shall you put? Thank you. Namaskar.